in the long, sad history of the stupidity, the ignorance of prohibition, the policy of prohibition. You can find all sorts of stories to just prove the ignorance that was going on with prohibition. That's from the idea of prohibition. For example, there was an election and I think it was Michigan. I'm not sure though. A vote to decriminalize cannabis, marijuana. And the vote didn't pass. And it turned out that a big section of the vote that rejected decriminalization, that voted against legalization of cannabis, were prison guards. And the next step was that these prisons are located in little dink towns, and the prison is the only job in town. So here's this little source of economic funding to stay in that little town and be a prison guard. Well, the prison guards voted against legalization of cannabis because it's their job of repression, their job being an agent of the stupidity, the ignorance of prohibition. Their job was more important than ridding the law books of a completely fraudulent and just criminal enterprise and moralistic fraud that is the policy of prohibition. But that's part of the story of this issue of prohibition, is that it makes people money. And the worst type of things, prison guards. Prison guards. I mean, you gotta say, well, I'm glad somebody wants to be that job. And on the other hand, you say, yes, but it should be in society, a civilized society, it should be a very small number occupation because there aren't that many criminals, there aren't that many people in prison. Well, here again, you look at prohibition. And prohibition, and the ignorant stupidity, has made America the number one prison nation in the whole world. And over 60%, I think it's more like 70, when you put in the state prisons and the federal prisons together. And even some of, I think county, local prisons as well. Then you're pushing 70%, 75% or more of the prisoners are there because of prohibition. A prohibition against drugs. And so you see, that's a huge economic aspect of employment that's related around prohibition and keeping things in the ignorant, stupidity, moralist fraud of prohibition. So when you legalize, you're shifting a whole economic segment. Because, of course, you just wait. When we have national legalization, even of just cannabis, let alone all drugs, when we can just legalize cannabis, you're going to see a dramatic decrease in prison population. And when you got that dramatic decrease in prison population, long term, going on, you're going to see, well, we don't need as many prison guards. And so their employment shrinks. And they think, well, what am I going to do for a job now in Hickville? Out in some bohoonie places where they stick these prisons. Small town crap, and just get a prison. So there has to be another shift going on in economics that also will make some advantage of having another segment of population become unemployed. like prison guards and prison-related personnel, secretaries, administrators, electrician-related, plumbing-related, all that stuff. So the choice is only your freedoms, your constitutional rights, or the maintaining of the complete ignorance that justifies employment to continue the repression of your constitutional rights and freedoms, like prison guards, like police. You know, when we legalize, we finally get rid of a lot of stuff that, well, actually you don't need as much. Be a sign of a better community that you don't need many prison guards. It's a sign of a sane, healthy community when you say you don't need as many police.